Cachaça is a very weird spirit for pubs and bars here in the UK. I mean, we pretty much know it as Brazilian rum, but after that, knowledge about Cachaça is pretty minimal. And to see it actually out in the wilds, well, that is very rare. Top-end cocktail bars and hotel bars, yeah, you'll probably see it. Revo de Cuba, yeah, you should see a bottle there. Your standard pub or bar, no, not a chance. So, what is Cachaça? Should you, as a pub or bar, stock it? And if you do stock it, how do you flip it well make money from it? Because the last thing you want is this bad boy sitting on your back of your bar, gathering dust and not making any money from it at all. Every bottle on your back bar should be turned over at least once a month, but ideally every week or so. So without getting too geeky, Cachaça, as I previously said, we know it as Brazilian rum, but please don't compare it to your average typical rum. This is a cane juice rum. Now, if your head is instantly going towards Martinique and Guadeloupe and maybe Madeira, again, don't compare Cachaça to those. They are rum agricole, and they have very different rules and regulations about how they're made, which makes a very different end product to Cachaça. But essentially, this is made from fresh cane juice, not molasses, fresh cane juice that's then fermented and then distilled, and more often than not, unaged. I would say it does have that sort of funky, grassy sort of traits that you might get from an agricole from Martinique and Guadeloupe. But I actually find it more approachable, which probably means for rum agricole fans, it's not quite what they're looking for. But I'm quite happily sipping that neat. That's delicious. So if you are a pub or a bar and you buy a bottle of this, how are you flipping well going to make some money from it? Well, the simple answer is pretty much one cocktail, and it's the Caipirinha. Now, whether this is actually true or not, this is how Brazilian bartenders and brand ambassadors for Cachaça have told me how to make Caipirinhas. Basically, you want 3/4 of a lime, and then we're going to cube it, and that lime wedge gets put to one side. So when you've made 4 Caipirinhas, you've got enough to make a 5th. Then we're just going to dump those in our glass. Now, I would say make sure for this technique, make sure you use a toughened glass. You don't want to be using any sort of fine crystal to do this. If you haven't got toughened glasses, use a cocktail shaker. Then either use a heaped bar spoon of powdered sugar, granulated or caster sugar, or I'm going for 15 ml of sugar syrup. Muddle that down to get all the lovely juice out of the limes, but all that flavour out the zest. Then you want a 50 ml double bubble of your Cachaça of choice. Add in a couple of ice cubes, and this is why you want a toughened glass, because you're just going to shake it straight in the glass like that. Dump that back in a glass, crown with some crushed ice, and Caipirinha done. And that tastes absolutely incredible. I flipping love Caipirinhas. Now, as far as session cocktail goes, and I'm not encouraged binge drinking, but if you are going to have 2, 3, 4 of the same cocktails, this is one hell of a candidate. I genuinely don't think I would ever get bored of drinking that. I'm going to put this out there. As far as ease of making, as far as fun to drink, I might actually consider possibly making that every time my head went to a daiquiri. I think if you served a daiquiri like that in your pub and bar, I think you'd sell a hell of a lot more rum. Now, of course, the really cool thing about simple and tasty drinks like this is they're very easy to put your own riffs and twists on them. If the classic Caipirinha got a bit stale on your cocktail menus, just simply swap the sugar syrup out for a flavour of your choice. For example, instead of sugar, you could go passion fruit puree. You could go one of my favourites, which is guava puree. Or you could go for a crowd favourite of strawberry puree. It's exactly these kind of drinks, these kind of cocktails, that will end up putting so much more money in your tills. And it's exactly why I personally love working with all these different syrup brands and ODK and everyone, because brands like Real, like Monin, like ODK just make it so easy for you to stand out against your competition. The only slight issue you have with Cachaça and Caipirinhas is getting your customers, getting your guests on them in the first place. But I promise you, once they taste the drink, they are going to come back for a second, third, fourth and fifth. I guarantee they are that good, they'll just end up staying on them all night. Now, quick question for all you Cachaça experts. What brand of Cachaça should we be using here in the UK? I'll be honest, this is fantastic. I just bought this on a whim. I know there's Sagatiba, I know there's Leblon, I know there's Novofogo. What brand should we be using? This is fantastic. All of these taste superb. I mean, that passion fruit, that's going to get chopped. See you next time.